What is up guys, the modern bodybuilder here, back at it with another video. This video is going to be quite deep and personal for most of us who follow the sport very closely. Today, we're going to be talking about a few bodybuilders who were so dedicated to the sport that it actually cost them their lives. We all know the risks of the sport of bodybuilding, and this video is not meant to disrespect the athletes but instead use their stories to spread awareness on how dangerous the sport can be, and hopefully have that as their lasting legacy. Before I begin this list, I would just like to say that all deaths in bodybuilding, be it at any level, is a huge loss to the community. This video is meant as a tribute and a cautionary tale, not as a critique on the bodybuilders themselves. Without further ado, let's get right into the video. The first name on this list deserves way more recognition, and it is a shame that young folks of today don't know more about him. His name is Mohammed Benaziza, one of the most dangerous under 200 competitors of all time. Born in Algeria and raised in France, he would actually grow up as a soccer player as most European children do. But eventually, he shifted his focus towards bodybuilding after winning his first show in the under 75 kilogram category. He would immediately make waves in the bodybuilding world, and the entire bodybuilding world would be in shock and awe in the 1990 Night of Champions, where he would defeat the much larger Dorian Yates, earning the nickname the Killer of the Giants. His back was one of the greatest of all time, inspiring even Dorian Yates to train his back even harder. Benaziza was known to have an ultra-thick and dense physique which could catch even the great mass monsters of this era off guard. He competed in the Olympia 3 times, with his last appearance in 1992, where he would finish an impressive 5th place. However, instead of taking a break after the show, he would continue to prep for another show just weeks after. And that is where things took a dark turn. Despite complaining of shortness of breath and generally feeling not well, he refused to go into the hospital. It was reported that he took an injection from an unknown person in order to speed up his prep, and shortly after the show, he was found dead in his hotel room. He was only 33 years old. His passing was terrible, not only for the community, but for his friends and family as well. Benaziza was not just a competitor, he was a symbol that size wasn't everything in bodybuilding. Today he remains a reminder of not only the beauty, but also the risk of bodybuilding, especially at the highest level. Next up on the list is one that is hard to miss, especially if you followed bodybuilding in the 90s. I am talking about the great Mike Matarazzo. Unfortunately, his name would be forever linked with tragic bodybuilding stories due to his untimely death. Mike would be known for his amazing arms and calves and his energy while posing, which would make him a crowd favorite. He would turn pro in 1991 and quickly made a name for himself with his wide, thick frame and relentless training style. He competed in multiple Olympias in the 90s, although never cracking the top 5. He would be one of the most talked about athletes in any lineup. His attitude and physique were the center of attention, but behind the scenes, his body was taking quite a beating, especially his heart. Over the years, he developed serious cardiovascular issues that led him to retiring from the sport. In 2004, he went under open heart surgery and would undergo multiple procedures in the future. But despite all this, he remained active in the community to openly discuss the health risks he had encountered linked to the sport and warning the youth about the dangers of steroid abuse. Sadly, in 2014, he would pass away at just the age of 48 while waiting for a heart transplant. His death hit the whole community hard, not just because he was a top pro, but because he was one of the few to speak out about the dangers of bodybuilding. He lived for the sport, and in many ways, he paid the consequences of it. He was more than just a physique, he had charisma, grit, and heart in every sense of the word. His story should serve as a reminder that even the greatest are still human and not indestructible. Therefore, we should all take better care of our bodies. Next up, let's talk about probably the most intelligent, articulate, and physically overwhelming bodybuilders ever, Nasser El Sonbaty. With his signature round glasses, encyclopedic knowledge, and commanding stage presence, Nasser was one of the most dominant forces in the 90s bodybuilding, nearly overthrowing Dorian Yates in the 1997 Mr. Olympia, which most actually speculated that he should have won. He was known for blending size and grace never before seen on a bodybuilding stage. He was a true bodybuilding powerhouse, standing at 270 pounds in contest shape. He combined shape with insane conditioning, making him dangerous in any lineup. Other than being a great bodybuilder, Nasser was also a very intellectual and educated person who was fluent in 8 languages. He was known for his sharp wit and unfiltered opinion, making him one of the more outspoken bodybuilders of his era. Unfortunately, his health began to decline after his retirement, and the years of pushing his body to the absolute limit began to catch up with him, and in 2013, at the age of 47, he would sadly die in his sleep. The news shocked the bodybuilding world because he was gone way too soon, and the hole he left was deeply felt. His death, like so many others on this list, became a part of a painful pattern we have seen way too many times, especially in these modern times where younger and younger kids are using performance enhancing drugs. These types of health complications are becoming more and more common. Nasser wasn't just a bodybuilder, he was a symbol that even bodybuilders can be intellectuals and full of grace. Next is a name that is synonymous with bone dry conditioning, Andreas Munzer. Munzer was made famous not just because of his proportions and structure, but by his level of conditioning and definition, which almost seemed inhuman. His skin looked translucent, revealing every single muscle fiber and striation. Until today, he is regarded as one of the best conditioned athletes to ever grace the stage. He mainly competed in the early to mid 90s, sharing the stage with the likes of Dorian Yates, Kevin Lebroni, and Flex Wheeler. While he never cracked the top 5 at the Mr. Olympia, he was still widely respected by judges and fans alike, not only because of his physique, but because of his attitude, which pushed him to achieve his physique and never knowing when to give up. He was disciplined, humble, and committed beyond belief, but sadly, it was his tenacity that eventually became his downfall. In March 1996, just a few weeks after his show, he was sent to the hospital with complaints of severe abdominal pain. The doctors discovered internal bleeding and massive stress on his organs, mainly in his heart and liver. Unfortunately, he would die at the age of 31 even after emergency surgery. The autopsy revealed that his body was ravaged by years of diuretic abuse, liver toxicity, and drug-induced organ failure. His death was one of the first that forced the bodybuilding industry to wake up to the truth and dangers behind the sport. Munzer's death sent shockwaves across the industry, which revealed the cost of pushing your body to its limits. However, he is still remembered fondly for his achievements in the sport and how much of a hard worker he was. He never won the Mr. Olympia, but he did win our hearts, which I will argue is an even greater achievement. Now, it is impossible to talk about tragic deaths in bodybuilding without talking about Dallas McCarver. We lost Dallas in 2017 at only 26 years old. His combination of size, shape, and conditioning, even at a young age, just screamed out potential directly in your face, and fans were even talking about him becoming a future Mr. Olympia. Dallas would turn pro at just 21 years old and would be placing top 10 at the Mr. Olympia at just 24. What made him stand out so much was not just his size, but his potential for refinement. At a height of around 6 feet, he weighed 300 pounds in the off-season, but he still maintained his balance and insane proportion. He stood tall over all of his competitors and still managed to fill out his frame quite well, leading to fans to speculate that he could have dominated the sport of bodybuilding if given enough time. But that potential would never be realized, as in 2017 he would collapse in his Florida home while apparently eating a meal. It was thought that he had simply choked on his food, but the autopsy would later reveal that the cause of death was an acute cardiac event, likely caused by an enlarged heart. Whatever the case may be, it was indeed a painful moment in bodybuilding history. Dallas was more than a kid with potential. He was a symbol of the next generation. His passing opened up the conversation for young athletes being pushed to take risks with their health in pursuit of greatness and success without proper guidance. Dallas had everything it took to become a legend, and in a way, he still is, not just because of his accolades, but because of what he represented. One of the most heartbreaking stories in recent bodybuilding memory is that of Luke Sandoe. He wasn't just a great bodybuilder, he was a magnetic personality and felt like a breath of fresh air as he rose among the bodybuilding ranks in the 2010s. He brought an incredible combination of size, structure, symmetry, and proportion, but also had a playful charisma and a humble personality that made people root for him. One of his highest achievements in the sport came in 2019 Arnold Classic, where he would place third behind only future Mr. Olympia Brandon Curry and William Bonac, proving that he was an Olympia caliber bodybuilder. He quickly became one of the most promising bodybuilders of his time. Behind the scenes, though, something much darker was happening. He dealt with mental health issues that was invisible to most of those around him. Like most athletes, he carried around an immense pressure to perform and constantly chased perfection in the sport, where suffering and pain was glorified. In May of 2020, he was found dead in his home at just 30 years old, and was later confirmed that the cause of death was via suicide, which left the bodybuilding world in shock. Even today, the impact of his death is still felt. His death was more than a loss of a rising star, but a reminder that even the strongest people physically can still be fighting demons within their minds, and sometimes they might end up losing the battle. His death opened up the conversation about mental health in this sport of ours and has pushed the community to be more open and supportive of each other's mental health. No trophy, title, or external achievement is more important than one's own personal well being, and Sandoe's passing reminded us all of that fact. Another death that truly shocked the bodybuilding world was that of George Peterson, a competitor who was probably just on the beginning of his prime but sadly lost his life before he could ever reach it. George wasn't just known for his physique, he was known for his humility, positivity, and tenacity towards the sport and life in general. He was someone who exuded positivity and was a dominant force on any stage. Both competitors and fans alike deeply respected and liked him on and off the stage. He gained attention primarily from his career as a classic physique competitor, placing third in the 2019 and 2018 Classic Physique Mr. Olympia, with his insane X-frame and proportions which instantly made him a fan favorite. And while he could have stayed and dominated in that division, he decided to make a switch to 212, which had a higher weight cap. In 2021, he would qualify for the 212 Mr. Olympia, ready to bring a new and improved look for the judges. Unfortunately, that Olympia weekend would never come for him. Just 2 days before the show, he was found unresponsive in his hotel room. His death was reported to have involved a sudden cardiac arrest. Although the specifics were never made public, it was clear that it happened during his peak week, which athletes are pushing their bodies to the absolute limit. It was heartbreaking, and he was only 37 years old at the time of his passing. His passing was painful not only because he was a successful athlete, but because, according to all accounts, he was a stand-up guy and universally loved. George Peterson's legacy is made more painful because we will never truly know how far he could have gone in the sport, but he will always have a place in our hearts as he taught us that greatness is not just about how you look, but also how you carry yourself and how you treat other people. Finally, few deaths hit as hard or felt as unreal as the death of 2018 Mr. Olympia, Shawn Rhoden. Just 3 years after winning the highest title in bodybuilding, Shawn would pass away in 2021 at just 46 years old. At one point, Shawn would be the face of modern bodybuilding, where he would showcase aesthetics over sheer mass as he would dethrone Phil Heath, who was looking to tie the record for most Olympia wins. Shawn's death will leave a huge void in the industry, especially after not being able to defend his title, leaving us all to speculate what if. His greatness did not come easy though, as he would earn his pro card later in life and would steadily improve year after year. While his contemporaries relied on mass, he would bring something else to the stage with clean lines and a small waist that went down to flaring and cross-striated thighs. Although he would face legal issues leading him to be banned from competing, no one could deny how good of a bodybuilder he truly was. In 2021, he would suddenly die of a heart attack. The news spread like wildfire. The entire bodybuilding world felt the weight of his passing. Here was a man who had reached the pinnacle of the sport but was gone in an instant. Shawn was in fact the oldest man to win the Mr. Olympia title and proved that you are never too old to achieve your dream. These deaths, although very tragic, serve as a cautionary tale to all of us to take better care of our bodies and to respect the dangers these athletes take on every single day. I would love to hear your opinions in the comment section down below, and if you enjoyed the video, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel. This has been the Modern Bodybuilder. Thank you for watching.